YouTube, it's Mr. Magz here, and a few times a month I like to kind of scroll through the gamers website and just look at all of their lists just to see if there's anything video worthy because I've made a few videos on articles from the gamer because I swear no one from the gamer in any category they make lists on, no one there knows what they're talking about ever. Not just hyperbolizing. Ever, like, there were at least 6 or 7 articles specifically Pokemon related I could have pulled from. And I actually picked out 2 that I'm going to be making videos on over the next week or two. Um, but there were at least 7 articles, specifically these like 25 things and 15 that are not, like those type of articles that clearly are clickbaity, or whoever writing them didn't play the game or didn't do any kind of research of any kind of going into this. So here's the first of 2 that I'm going to be doing. And again, just over the past 2 months, there were at least 7 I could have pulled from. But this one clearly, since it was released on November 19th, was clearly trying to cater or kind of capture that the hype that was going around of the launch of Let's Go Pikachu. Although the fact that it did come out on November 19th, 2 or 3 days after the game actually came out, makes a few of these entries a little questionable, but I'll get into it. 25 things we wish we knew before we started Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. Okay, that's actually fair. Whenever you go into any game, there are definitely certain things that developers want to keep secret, and there's certain things they show off in trailers to get people excited. And sometimes you decide from the trailers, hey, I want to buy this game. Then you finally get it, and you realize it's not really the game you were sold, or there are certain things that like you thought you would like but you didn't actually like, or there are certain things that just, even though you like a lot of the game, there are certain things you don't like. So for a game that was quote unquote as controversial as Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee were, maybe there were some things that had you known them beforehand, you either wouldn't have bought it or you would have bought Let's Go Eevee because, like you say here, these are things that you wish you had known before you bought Let's Go Pikachu specifically and not Pikachu and Eevee. However, 2 problems with everything, literally like 20 out of 25, if not more than that. 20 out of 25 of these would either wouldn't affect your purchase even if you knew these going in, or more egregiously, almost everything on this list would not affect your purchase, and it was also already shown off in trailers. Almost all the things listed in this list are either inconsequential or especially were already shown off in trailers, so you already knew about them, making the title that much more confusing. So let's continue. I'm not going to do the thing like I usually do with the gamer lists where I read the entire article entry by entry. There are 25 of these, and that might get a little long. And most of these, I could easily just explain why the heading is like why the entry isn't right just by explaining it to you. So we're not gonna waste all day on this article. So let's just read the entry paragraph, and then we'll go from there. Pokemon has come a long way since its humble beginnings. What began as an out-of-nowhere success story that managed to sweep not only Japan but the world has become a juggernaut that even Nintendo couldn't predict. That's a little iffy considering they actually banked that the Switch would sell over 20 million units within the fiscal year 2018 solely on this and Smash coming out. So they're kind of predicting this game to sell pretty big, and it has, so whatever. The series continues to grow strong decades later with very few actual changes along the way. Debatable, whatever. Since Generation 1, Pokemon has seldom strayed the course. Spin-offs have released, and of course, but never so substantial where anyone clamors for anything but the expected. That all changed with the release of Go, however, as Generation 1 did the century prior. Go revolutionized a series that was already strong. Naturally, Game Freak decided to capitalize on this series' newfound fervor. Blending the franchise's two biggest moneymakers together, Game Freak developed Let's Go, the perfect blend of the main series and the new phone based side series. In many respects, Let's Go is built on a certain familiarity rooted in every essence of the series, but it is not so derivative where there isn't a degree of mystery to it. Playing Let's Go, you'll often find yourself wishing you knew key details beforehand. Game Freak pushed the idea of it as a remake, but it is truly so much more. I can't really argue too much with a lot of the stuff in this paragraph. Like that's actually for once a pretty decent opening paragraph. Almost every single time with the gamer articles, there's just blatant inconsistencies or blatant things that could be disproven if you just did a little bit of research. But like everything here, actually, I can agree with pretty much everything on here. Some stuff I just be nitpicking, but like I said before, yes, it is very. It could be useful to know some of the stuff going in, but you'll see as I go on, you um you already should have known like most of this stuff. Like 90% of the stuff was already said in trailers. So we'll start with no pro controller support. This is one of the very few instances. Ironically, it's the first on the list. This is number 25. You would think that's the thing that's least significant, even though it's one of the only things that actually fits the criteria. But whatever. It's one of the only things that like had people known, and like there were press releases, but there wasn't really like that well known beforehand that you couldn't use the Pro controller, only the Joy Cons. Um, and it is a little disappointing. If some people had known that you can't use Pro controller, they might not have bought it, or they might have, I don't know, they might have had a different expectation going in, since they couldn't play with their potentially favorite way of playing with Pro controller. It is a little confusing as to why you can't use the Pro controller, since it works perfectly fine in handheld mode, and the Pro controller has motion control in there, so you can just easily gyro aim just like you do in handheld mode. But it's whatever, I guess. Like, yes, it is upsetting. It is a little frustrating for people that do have a Pro controller, and for people that just want to play down and play Let's Go without having to use the motion controls to throw the ball and catch and stuff. So yes, I actually do agree with this particular entry. Almost every entry after this, I don't agree with so much, and like I said, we'll get into that. To number 24, Eevee and Pikachu can't evolve. That is something we 100% knew going in for multiple reasons. A, at E3, they confirmed that since they had a pretty big deep dive into this game during the Treehouse event. And two, these are actually remakes of Yellow. So, did you really think that you couldn't? Did did you really think that they wouldn't keep like one of the core mechanics of of Yellow, the fact that Pikachu can't evolve? You really think they wouldn't keep that? And actually, it doesn't like really matter all that much because they actually enhanced the base stats of both Pikachu and Eevee. Now Pikachu is faster than Raichu could ever be. He's not quite as strong offensively, but his stats are still pretty decent. And Eevee is just all around a monster with like pretty average stats all around. Again, not as good as like any one stat that his evolutions could have, but still, just all around, Eevee is pretty beefy, has decent attack and special attack, and pretty good speed. Like, you don't really need them to evolve in order for them to be useful, since they kind of coded the game around the fact that they can't evolve. But the fact that you have that on the list where you wish you would have known it beforehand. It means you either didn't play Yellow or were expecting something you shouldn't have expected to begin with, or just didn't listen to any of the interviews, whatever, or all three, whatever. You can catch duplicates of your starters. This one actually won't read the paragraph because I want to know. I want to know exactly like why this is a big deal. So let's get into this one specifically. Despite the inability to actually evolve your starters, Game Freak decided not to overlook this problem as they did in Yellow. Rather than forcing trainers to miss 4 entries in their Pokédex, Eevee and Pikachu can both be caught in the wild, ensuring that trainers can get their evolved forms by other means. This marks one of Eevee's few catchable appearances. This is especially useful for Eevee, though, despite being one Pokemon evolves into a potential 3. That means traders would need a minimum of 3 Eevees just to get all their evolved forms. Naturally, with Eevee being unable to evolve, this means trainers would need to be able to find Eevee in the wild. Okay, so basically what he's saying is, since Eevee and Pikachu can't evolve, it's cool that you can find more of them so you can evolve them. However, unless I'm mistaken, I'm pretty sure Eevee and Pikachu being caught in the wild is version exclusive. That would just kind of make sense to me. It wouldn't really make sense for you to be able to catch another Eevee in your game where you already have Eevee. I know for a fact you can catch Pikachu in Let's Go Eevee, since I actually have Let's Go Eevee. My brother has Let's Go Pikachu. But I don't think you can find Eevee in the wild in Let's Go Pikachu and vice versa. I'm not 100% certain on that, but still, it's pretty cool that you can catch them in the wild. Like he said, it's pretty cool that you can finally catch Eevee in the wild. Although it wouldn't really affect your buying purchase to know that going in. Especially like I said, Eevee and Pikachu are already good enough on their own where you don't, especially Pikachu, you don't like really need to evolve Pikachu in order for him to be useful. Eevee and Pikachu have new moves. Again, this is something that 100% was in the trailers. They had a trailer specifically dedicated to at least 3 of Eevee's new moves and the 2 new Pikachu moves. So were you just not paying attention? Did no one on your editing team catch that? Did they just not care? Did they just want to fill out random 25 lists, or 25 entry list? Because something I've realized recently is that they do have this thing right here where it's like most other list-based articles where you click on it and then every single page you have to keep clicking through, generating more and more ad revenue per page clicked. It's really annoying for most websites because that's the only way to view their article. You have to click through multiple pages. So it would make sense for them to want 25 things in a format like that. However, since you can just keep scrolling down and only have to visit one page, I don't really see the need to want to make lists so long like they do. I don't know. That's just a little, something I noticed recently, a little observation that just it in theory explains why they have like 15 things that are there and 15 we wish that weren't, or 15 things that are good and 10 things that are not good. Those type of lists that they do constantly and they mean nothing and they're like really bad and just are poorly researched, and like in theory it makes sense why they do that, but since you can just continue scrolling, why bother? So yeah, that's just something I wanted to bring up, especially since this one in particular, this is the first one that was extensively shown in trailers. I think in multiple trailers, because Eevee has 8 moves. I don't know if they showed all 8 moves prior, but I know they showed at least 3. I know they showed at least the fire fire, grass, and electric ones. So, at least for Eevee. And Pikachu, I'm pretty sure they showed both his flying and water move. Eevees are much better. Now, this one actually does kind of pertain to the premise, since up here you say things you wish you had known before you started Let's Go Pikachu. So, if you're buying these new games specifically because you saw in that trailer that Pikachu and Eevee have new exclusive moves, then yeah, and then in that trailer you saw Eevee has 3 moves for his 3 evolutions, and Pikachu has 2. That's not that big of a deal. And you're just like, oh, okay, I'll buy Pikachu because he has 2 cool new moves. But then if you find out later that Eevee actually, the Eevee actually has 8, and all of these moves are actually really, really good. That could have potentially changed your buying decision. So this one, I could easily see why that could be on a list like this. This one, I do not. You need to catch a minimum of 50 Pokemon to beat the game. Yes, in order to get into Koga's gym, you need to catch 50 Pokemon. I'm not sure if it means that you have to catch 50 different species. I had just 50 species anyway, so I wasn't able to test that. Or if it's just you catch 50 Pokemon, period. The reason I have such a problem with this one in particular is because they made catching so fun, so intuitive, so easy, and also catching grants you more experience than just battling does. So there's no reason not to just catch everything you find. So by the time you get to Fuchsia Gym, assuming you're playing the game in the right way, or at least in the way the game telegraphs you to go, you have no reason not to catch at least 50 Pokemon. Even if it is 50 species, there are is there at least 1 or 2 new species on every single route. So if you're not just catching these Pokemon in a new, easy, intuitive way, what are you doing? Why are you even playing this game if your primary reason for playing this game isn't just catch stuff in a Pokemon Go style format? That was the main selling point of this game, to branch the two Let's Go, or the main series and Go together. So why is this a problem? Would it really have affected your buying decision to know, oh, I needed to catch 50 Pokemon. I'm not gonna be able to do that. It's no, you're gonna do that by accident. I'm not even kidding. You could just catch literally everything you find. Also, if it is just catching 50 just straight up Pokemon, have a box full of 50 Pokemon, you get more experience if you chain catch the same Pokemon over and over again. Also, catching 31 of the same Pokemon in a row increases the chance of finding shinies. So it actually encourages you to catch multiple of the same Pokemon, and also then you can grind those up into that sounds wrong. Whatever. That's what happens. You can grind them up into candies to feed your Pokemon to make them stronger. So there's no reason not to just catch everything. So yeah, this entry just, I don't know, that kind of confuses me. Your starter can withstand fainting. This is something that, though you didn't necessarily know that going in, although I think during one of the Treehouse streams they did showcase the friendship meter that would imply you could do this. It was definitely implied by the fact that Gen 6 onward, this happens with the friendliness meter or whatever through Pokemon and Me. They just made it way easier in Let's Go. As long as you have a Pokemon following you, their friendliness level increases. So since actually it's not even just your starter can withstand fainting, I've had almost every member on my team, since I just kind of cycle through periodically, almost all of them have withstand fainting at least once. So it's not just your starter. And would that have affected your buying decision? Most likely not. Was it something you didn't know going in? It should have been something considering it was in Gen 6 and 7. So, yeah, I don't again, like if this if the gamer had a setup where you only could click through 25 different pages to get to the end of the list, I could understand putting in fluff like this. But because that isn't the case, I can just scroll straight through. This entry just doesn't need to be here. No wild battles. We went 100% knew that going in. Also, it's based on the Pokemon Go mechanic. Also, the fact that you say no wild battles is a lie because there are still a couple of instances in the game, like with Snorlax, the legendary birds, Electrode, Mewtwo. That might be it, but there's still a pretty decent amount of Pokemon that do actually require you to battle them first and then you can catch them. So it's kind of a best of both worlds. I honestly would not be mad at all if they kind of kept that mechanic in, but for all Pokemon. Sometimes it's just a little tedious having to deal with whittling them down into the red, making sure you don't kill them, um, and just hope you can catch them, while at the same time maybe they have some healing move where your first Pokeball doesn't catch, and they just heal back up into the yellow or green, and then you have to start the whole process over again. So just knocking them down, knocking them out completely, and then having the chance to battle wild Pokemon, it's honestly not a bad mechanic just to keep from here on. I would not be mad if they did that. Also, having the Pokemon be spotted in the wild is another thing I would love them to keep going forward. Catching awards more EXP than battling. This is true, though it wouldn't have affected your purchase. It's just something you just kind of notice. Is it a little annoying? It can be, yeah. Like being really late game, battling things in the Victory Road, battling trainers in Victory Road, and getting like 700 experience when you're fighting level 45 Pokemon is that's a little annoying. And then when you catch something, you gain that, if not that much, if not more. When before, I know specifically, I remember this specifically in Gen 3, there is a Pokemon breeder on the route next to Malval City. And you battle him, and he has a Loudred. In Ruby and Sapphire, he has a team of 6, and they can all only get up to 31. If you take it on his Loudred, he gives you about 700, let's say 720 experience. It's a Loudred level 31. If you battle a Loudred in Victory Road on, let's say, 40, it also nets you 720-ish experience. So you get about the same experience despite the Loudred in Victory Road being about 10 levels higher. Here is basically flipped. If you catch a Pokemon that's significantly lower, you'll still get the same amount of experience from than that same Pokemon fainting from a trainer. So is it a little annoying? Yes, but like since they did encourage catching more things, since battling in general was kind of downplayed, I'm not that annoyed. I just kind of wish there was a little they didn't nerf battling experience as much as they did. But whatever. Like I said, it wouldn't have affected my purchase to know that beforehand. It's just something I just kind of hope if they continue with the Let's Go formula, or if they integrate some of the Let's Go mechanics into future games, I don't really hope they don't keep that mechanic and balance out the trainer and catching Pokemon a little better than they have. The Pokeball controller adds quite a lot. Yeah, there was definitely a big presentation during E3 2018 that specifically showcased what the Pokeball does. You catch stuff with. Actually, that might have been shown off in the reveal trailer. And I think about it, yeah, you can move around with it, you can catch with it, you can put Pokemon in it and take it with you. Like, yeah, it adds a lot. We already knew that. It kind of sucks that it's $50. Just like I feel like 30 should have been the most for that. Like I could buy another game with that, and it's only going to be used for this one game and Let's Go, or sorry, and Pokemon Go on with your phone. Hopefully, it can be used with other games going forward. If it does, I might actually break down and buy it eventually if it does get a little cheaper. But if it doesn't, that would kind of be a slap in the face to all the people that did buy this thing for $50. Uh, so yeah, it is a little annoying how it's so expensive, and I hope it gets more use going forward. But we definitely knew about this going in. We also knew about this again at E3. Reggie blatantly explained to people, "Hey, if you get this Pokemon Plus, you can get Mew in the game." Does it kind of suck that you have to essentially pay $50 just for a mystery Pokemon? Yes, but at the same time, you're not just paying $50 for Mew. You're also paying $50 to have another controller to actually kind of RP catching Pokemon in your living room. Um, you you can take the Pokeball with you and essentially count the Pokewalker from Heart Gold Soul Silver. They gain experience and get items and stuff while you're walking around in the real world. Like I said, also it can connect to Pokemon Go. So I just wish it wasn't as expensive, but the fact that it does have Mew, which breaks canon a little bit, considering Mew is like should be in the game, considering Mew was used to clone to make Mewtwo, but whatever. That's Mew has always been event exclusive, so that's not something to complain about now. But yes, we definitely 100% knew about this before going in. Rematches are back. This is a very cool addition. You can now rematch. I think you can rematch every single gym leader. You can rematch all the important trainers. There are certain trainers that specifically you can rematch, so it's really cool that you can rematch trainers. It's not something I wish I had known going in. It's just a cool little surprise for people who are playing the game. So, yay. The R and A buttons are functionally the same. This seems so inconsequential because it's not just R and A actually. That is true. The R button and the A button are both, select the action button. But actually, if I'm not mistaken, both, if you click in for both triggers, R, L, R2, and L2 are all the action button. Would it have affected my purchase to know going in that all those buttons do the same thing? Not one bit. In fact, it's actually pretty standard for at least the L button to be to be an action button. I think ever since at least Gen 3, maybe even before that. So it's not a big deal for all those buttons to be the same thing. So it would not have affected your purchase. Whatever. Let's Go is not a remake. It is though. It's a remake in the fact that you still, especially in Let's Go Pikachu, you start with Pikachu. You get all the starters from the same events. The region is exactly the same. The story is pretty much exactly the same. They change like a few minor things to like add characters and add context to certain things. The only way it's not a remake is the fact that it stars different main characters, and actually Red and Blue, spoilers, make cameos like throughout the story. Especially Blue like is a pretty prominent feature, and he essentially said that him and Red already went through their journey and like about a year or two ago. So now you're just doing this, and just so happens that Team Rocket stuff is happening now while you were on your journey, and that's just the only thing that's different. So yeah, it's a remake. There's no way to argue that it's not. Let me let me read his paragraph for this one just to see exactly, just to see how he argues it's not. As soon as Nintendo revealed Let's Go, it seemed quite obvious the game was going to be a remake of Yellow. We are back in Kanto, Pikachu was a starter again, and the story seemed to be a refreshed version of Generation 1. By all accounts, the game is a mechanical and conceptual remake. That's exactly everything I just said. And that's everything, in my opinion, that should determine whether or not something is a remake. But, well, he has another paragraph, so let's see what he says. Or so we thought. Playing the actual game, you'll find that Let's Go isn't a remake at all. Whatever. While it shares elements with Yellow, it is very much its own game. If anything, it is an explicit sequel to Generation 1, taking place in the same region but expanding concepts. Red, Blue, and Green even make appearances, implying the game takes place a fair bit after. It takes place, in my opinion, it's a remake that within its universe is still it takes place in a different timeline. It's a remake, like I said, in the sense that the story is exactly the same, that all the characters outside of the two main playable characters and just sequences in general, like Snorlax is still there, like the birds haven't been caught yet, like everything is exactly the same as Yellow, aside from your main character, aside from the fact that Red and Blue do make appearances and they reference that they already went through their journey. If the story is exactly the same, you start with the same Pokemon. All the events that happen in Yellow happen in this game. It is not a sequel to Generation 1. It's not like Gold and Silver, where, I think it was 2 years before that game, all the Team Rocket stuff happened, and now Neo Team Rocket is starting to surge back up. It's not like that. You still take down Giovanni. You still fight through the game corners. Silphco stuff happens. Like, it is a beat for beat remake of Yellow. The only additions are just standard additions for a remake. Heart Gold, Soul Silver had pretty similar contextual and like framing device differences that still meant it was a remake. They still had mechanics from more recent games in there. Same thing with Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. That you could try to argue that was a sequel to the original game, but they actually explicitly say that it takes place in an alternate timeline. So, or alternate dimension even. So to an extent, I understand what you're trying to say. I just don't think. I just think you could have worded it a little better instead of just saying it's a sequel because Red and Blue and Green appear, even though the story is exactly the same. So I'll continue. Handheld has massive frame rate problems. Yeah, it does. And that sucks a little bit. Like, it's never super noticeable. Viridian City or Viridian Forest, that's the main, and like a couple of caves here and there. Those are the main places where I see frame rate problems. The way I'm going to justify this is the fact that Pokemon games, ever since kind of Gen 5, have had some frame problems. Um, I don't exactly know why that's the case. I'm not saying it's good that this happens. I'm just saying that, especially in handheld mode, it's not like I wasn't expecting it to happen. It's not like knowing this going in would have affected my purchase because other Pokemon games have already had minor frame lag and stuff, so it wouldn't have really mattered if they had it. Also, if handheld mode does have frame problems, just get used to playing it on the TV. It's not that big of a deal for me personally. It would not have affected your purchase to know this. You should have just kind of expected it. Now, with the Switch being more powerful, I could easily see arguments for people saying that because it is a more powerful system, this shouldn't happen. And yes, I'll agree with that. It's just kind of, I don't know, it's just a thing that's there. You can't really change it. Hopefully, with the next Pokemon game, they'll have a little more time to iron that stuff out. So it's just here and nothing we can do about it. Now, top 10. No held items. Another thing that we absolutely knew going in. At least at the Treehouse event in at E3, they definitely mentioned this. So why that on this list? We knew that. The original starters are in the wild. It wouldn't have affected your purchase. You get them naturally anyway. It's just a cool surprise to see. Just in my playthrough, I didn't actually know this, so I think I knew you could catch Charizard like in the air post, like you can catch the final stages post game, but I didn't know you could just find the first stage just out in the wild. So I was just out and about, uh, kind of near Nugget Bridge, and I just saw a squirrel running around. And for a second, I was like, "Wait, do I have squirrel running with me?" No, I have. I'll say Bellsprout running with me. Then like I ran up to it, and oh, yep. What do you know? Squirtle was in the wild, and that was a pretty cool surprise. Honestly, knowing that going in would have been a little disappointing. It was just a very nice surprise to just see that happen. Just not knowing that Squirtle or any of the stars are in the wild, then all of a sudden they are. And they even like kind of prime before this, since one lass in Viridian Forest ask you directly if Bulbasaur can be found in Viridian Forest, and you're thinking, no, they can't. They can't be caught in this game. But like, it kind of gets in the back of your mind, like, can they? Is she just asking that to be curious, or like, or is that the game telling you they can be caught there? And well, Bulbasaur can be caught in Viridian Forest. So that's just a pretty cool feature that wouldn't have affected your purchase had you known that. If anything, that would have made your purchase even stronger. But whatever. Pikachu and Eevee will never be shiny. Okay, their shinies aren't very good anyway. In fact, I honestly cannot tell if the thumbnail is shiny. I think it is, but Pikachu's shiny is like slightly darker yellow. Now looking at it a little further, yes, this is its shiny, but like it's almost impossible to tell. With Eevee, it's a little better. It's like a snowy white fur, but outside of that, it's a fine shiny, but it's not spectacular. It's not like Charizard, Black Charizard shiny, or the shinies from a Gen 7. Those are some good shinies. Incineroar and Decidueye are some of my favorite shinies of all time. But Eevee and Pikachu not being shiny is not that big of a deal. It would not have affected your purchase knowing that going in. Plus, like you said up here, you can find more in the wild. So if you really want, if you really want a shiny Pikachu or shiny Eevee, catch one of your own. Your starter Pokemon can never be shiny. That's fine, because you can just catch more. Even if you can't catch an Eevee in Pikachu and you want a shiny Eevee, just trade with a friend who has Let's Go Eevee. Or wait, if you want a shiny Eevee in Let's Go Eevee, but since if I'm right in the fact that you can't catch Eevee in Let's Go Eevee, then just trade with a friend who has a shiny Eevee in Let's Go Pikachu, and just you're fine. That's just, yeah. I don't really see what's a big deal about that. Like, event Pokemon for a while now haven't been able to be shiny, so it's not that big of a deal for me. Wouldn't have affected your purchase to know that going in. And honestly, if you would boycott this game solely because your Pikachu cannot be shiny when it looks like this, again, I'm not even 100% confident that is Pikachu's shiny, you were never going to buy this game in the first place. So, yeah. Your partner will always follow you. Okay, so yes, that is Pikachu's regular color. That is Pikachu shiny. But it's so similar, I honestly could not tell. Okay, your partner Pokemon always follows you. Again, I think they already determined that in at E3's live stream. Also, this was also a key feature in the original Pokemon Yellow. Pikachu always followed you. Okay, I don't see the big deal. I don't I don't see how you wish you would have known that going in. Not like it matters. Okay. The Poke Center doesn't do everything it used to. I'm gonna read this one. One of the biggest changes that's that's supposed to be changes. I don't know how you mix up the G and the C. They're like kind of close, but not really close enough to maybe it was autocorrect. But why are you writing this on your phone if it's autocorrect? Whatever. One of the biggest changes Let's Go makes to the series' basic foundation is the ability to move Pokemon in and out of boxes on the go. No longer do you need to go to a Pokemon Center to transfer your Pokemon in and out. More pressingly, swapping your team in and out actually heals them. That is a lie. I actually wanted to test this. Before I made this video, I wanted to make sure that I was right about this. I was pretty confident they wouldn't do this. And I checked. I specifically remember I I have a Haunter who was paralyzed. And I didn't go to the Pokemon Center. I just put him into the box. And I went back into my game and was like, I wonder if that Haunter is still paralyzed. And lo and behold, I took him back out. He was still paralyzed with half health. So, no, swapping Pokemon would not heal them. That would break the game. Can you imagine going through the Elite Four and you're going through the Elite Four, you get through two of the Elite Four, and instead of just, using revives and whatnot, you can just swap your Pokemon in and out of the PC like it's nothing and just heal them like that. That would completely break the game. And it's honestly like it doesn't break the game as much just having the ability to have basically like two different teams just kind of cycle through. That's actually a pretty cool concept. It also makes it easier to train, more and more Pokemon if you don't want to like drop, because one of the biggest heartbreaks in Pokemon is to to have a team of six, find a new Pokemon that you really want to train, and then deciding which one you choose to swap out for it. Here you can actually train like up as many as you want and just keep cycling them in and out. Especially since they made catching way more intuitive and actually get more experience, it's way easier to level up. So that's a pretty cool feature. But no, you cannot heal Pokemon just by swapping them in and out. That would have broken the game. Like I said, it already kind of breaks it a little bit to have just a whole extra team just literally in your pocket, but it just kind of makes the game more inviting overall. You can't turn down the Pokeball's volume. Yeah, you can. You can just hold in the button and it turns off the volume. Yeah. Not much to say about this. You just didn't do your research on that one. Let's Go Pikachu has better exclusive Mon. That's subjective. You're right, but that's subjective. Like Arcanine is cooler than Ninetales. Um, Sandshrew, I think Sandshrew and Ekans are still exclusive. Oddish and Bellsprout are still exclusive. So like for certain ones, Eevee is better than Pikachu, but like just the fact that Pikachu gets Arcanine while Eevee gets Ninetales is a little disappointing. Now you can actually get you can get an Arcanine um in Let's Go Eevee by talking to a lady who asks you to catch 5 Meowth and you show them to her. She gives you an Arcanine, although since it's an Arcanine, it doesn't know any good moves and you can't get a Growlithe because breeding mechanic isn't in this game. Um, so uh, so like just Ninetales is still essentially your version exclusive for that game. And yes, it is a little annoying, but like that's just kind of how Pokemon is. But outside of Ninetales and Arcanine, from what I can remember, I don't think there are that many other like better version exclusives. Um, they're pretty comparable. Even I would honestly argue that Arbok is a better version exclusive than than Sandshrew is, if those are still version exclusives. And I personally like using Victory Bell more than Vileplume, so that's subjective. Although Arcanine, I was really excited to use Arcanine, but whatever. So you're right, but oh well. Also, at the top here, you said that this list was 25 things you wish you knew before you bought Let's Go Pikachu. So why is number 4 on here if that wouldn't have affected your purchase of Let's Go Pikachu? The fact that Eevee has better moves, I could see that one. But now that Pikachu has better, Let's Go Pikachu has better exclusives, at least in your opinion, I don't really see how that affects this. But, oh well. Master Trainers. There was a trailer extensively and deliberately showcasing this very feature. This is 100% something we knew going in, so you're wrong. Shut up. That's they actually this image right here is actually taken straight from that trailer. That Charizard is about to use Rock Slide on the opponent on the player's Charizard from that trailer. I don't understand why this is on the list. We definitely knew that. Okay. Shiny hunting made easy. Okay, this is actually something we did not know going in. Wow, the second to last one, finally something we didn't know. Outside of the Pro Controller one, this is honestly like one of, what, 2 or 3 that we didn't know going in? Okay. But yes, shiny hunting has made easier. Like I said, if you catch 31 plus of a certain Pokemon, it vastly increases the chance of catching that Pokemon. So that is very cool. And that actually greatly enhances the replay value of these games. Would it have affected your purchase? No. So why is it here? And lastly, Red is stronger than ever. I'm just going to read his paragraph. And yeah. The post game isn't just meant to see you retreading around Kanto to find some Master Trainers, far from it. Once you've beaten enough of the Masters, you can battle the real Master. Yes, the original Pokemon trainer Red is back, and he's stronger than he's ever been. With a full team of level 85 Pokemon, Red stands out as one of the strongest trainers in the entire franchise. There is little that can stand in his way in terms of raw power. Unfortunately, his team is actually fairly lackluster, but he can still brute force you. I will kind of agree with that last statement. I don't necessarily love his team in this game. The fact that for some reason they gave him Venusaur, and they gave blue Charizard, and they gave green Blastoise just seems like really weird to me. If they had just rotated that one way to the left, right? One way clockwise, giving red Charizard, green Venusaur, and blue Blastoise, that just makes way more sense to me. That's how I like to RP it, but whatever. And just, I think he also has an Arcanine and a Machamp, which are usually Gary's Pokemon, so I don't know why he has the... Whatever, it's fine. It's fine. His team is still pretty freaking strong at level 85. However, this line is a lie. He's stronger than he's ever been. That is a lie. In Generation 4, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, his strongest is on level 88. So when it says right here, Red stands out as one of the strongest trainers in the entire franchise, that is true. He is second to Red from Heart Gold, Soul Silver. His Pokemon, I'm pretty sure his Pikachu is on level 84 in the original Gold and Silver. And then Barry from Platinum, his strongest eventually after multiple rematches got up to 85. So then in Hard Gold Soul Silver, they decided we can't let that stand. We got to increase Red's strongest to be even stronger than that, up to 88. So yeah, Red is not stronger than ever. Oh, wow. I didn't even. Okay. So I know I described a second ago about Red having Venusaur, and I didn't really like that, but now that I'm seeing this thumbnail right here, I totally understand why that their teams are explicitly referencing this image, probably something from the manga. Okay, I feel a little dumb now, but still, it's a little weird. like I understand the source material they were basing it off of, but like still a little weird how they have it like that. But whatever, it's fine. At least I know the reasoning as to why they did that. So I think this is promotional art for Leaf Green Fire Red, since I think that's Leaf from. I could be wrong. I don't know. But back to the topic at hand. Red is not stronger than ever. He does stand out as one of the strongest trainers in the franchise, second only to other Red from Heart Gold Soul Silver. So again, it's just like you decided not to do research, and why would you put just a blatant lie, especially at the first, at like seemingly the most important entry on your list at number one? Have you just not played the Have you not played any game before now? Did you not even like think to go to Red's wiki? Bulbapedia is right there for you. Cerebi is right there for you. You can easily look at past entries and just look at information. Like I don't see how a site like this could get away with producing an article, a list article where most of the things are either lies or things we already knew about, in a list where the title of the article is 25 things we wish we had known before we started Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. So, with all that out of the way, what do you guys think about all this? Are you guys enjoying Let's Go Pikachu or Eevee? Would knowing any of these going in actually would have affected your purchase? Did you actually know all of these going in, like you should have? Leave thoughts about all of that down below. Like to have a discussion going, and I'll see you later.